there is so much to explain why we're doing it, and there is very little to explain how we're doing it. So the how is AI-powered XR avatar. It's as close to a person as possible as a companion for elderly. This is the fastest growing population on the planet. And this is the most underserved population when it comes to technology. I would love to have every lonely elderly to have a companion. That's just not feasible. That's just not possible. So my next best would be a AI-powered avatar. But how is it's damn simple, but incredibly important. Having an 85-plus-year-old with an iPad, this is not just not comfortable for them, it's not comfortable to watch. They're not built for this interface, they're not familiar with this interface. The most common interface for an 85-year-old is a person, is a conversation the same we're doing it now. So what is my best way to do that? My best way to do that is to fuse AI and XR. I've got to bring the person to the real world. It's got to be as realistic as possible and as relatable as possible. So the person got to be walking around the room, see what's going on in the room, remember what happened yesterday, and create the relationship. So I can't do it without AI, and I cannot do it without XR. I can't put an avatar on iPad, it's not going to work.
Let's dive a little bit more into the tech. When you look at kind of the cloud providers that are out there and the models that are out there, what do you find are the models and the tools that are needed to make that emotion and connection come to life?
It's always a combination and it's always an equilibrium. So we are not trying to substitute a person. We're trying to be the second best with the limitations, but also with incredible abilities. So I've got to use, obviously, models that are capable of different languages. And I've got to use models that process not just the national language, they process the emotion. They process the intonation, but also they process the context. So just an LLM is not enough. I've got to constantly plug in the spatial awareness, where we are in the room, what is the day, what is the time of day, and what happened yesterday, and what did we talk about it yesterday, and what happened in the family, and what happened with the user. So I've got to have a multimodal AI in combination with computer vision, with spatial understanding, and I've got to process so much of it in one stream. It's a conversation. So while not being a person, yes, being a system that can understand, not just process, but actually understand so much that is going on in that simple conversation. But when I do that, this is where technology becomes invisible. We don't want the grandma to see the technology. We want grandma to talk. We want grandma to have fun. We want grandma to not feel lonely anymore, to have somebody to relate to have somebody to have fun with, make stories, make games. So technology could only become invisible if it ticks all these boxes and able to process all of those input streams at the same time.
And then I think the other key thing is the data and where the data lives. Can you talk about why sovereign compute is really important and ensuring that the data stays local and within Europe?
We are dealing with one of the most vulnerable audiences. We've all seen these videos where elderly are being scammed, where they are being abused in the digital realm, again, because they are not native to that. So to begin with, even before we're talking about the data, this is a very vulnerable audience. I want to bring them the technology because we just established that this is the only way to go. but I want to protect them and save them from dangers. So I need to know what am I bringing in front of them. So the closer I have the service, the better I can protect, and the better GDPR can protect seeing what I'm doing. Because I want to be transparent, but I also want to be transparent with everybody I'm working with. And now we're talking about data. Well, this is the most valuable data for all kinds of advertisers, for all kinds of different service providers. I don't want to go there. They would hunt for that. So I'd rather, to begin with, not put the data in the place where they can try to tap into it. And the third, this is the data that is the most private. This is the data that is the most vulnerable. And this is the data that needs to be as close as possible to the user themselves and the user's family. Because I'm trying to make it analogous to a family album. You're not outsourcing a family album. You're keeping it at home. So just the feeling that the grandma is talking and her memoirs stay within the retirement home and it goes only to children and grandchildren creates the feeling of protection, the feeling of trust. I can't build without it. So for me, even after I tick all the boxes and succeed with technology, I cannot put it away because then I'm losing the foundation of trust.
I think that's super important. So any other closing thoughts that you'd want to share, especially as you're building this use case and making this all come to life?
I would... there's a lot I want to say about that. Coming from the startup world, coming from builders, coming from people who care about human-centric technology, my message to the world is there is so much good out there, and the good is not always big. The good is sometimes small, and the faster and the better movers are people who are passionate about what they want to build and why they want to build it. So when it is about technology, it must first start with the person. It can be a great business, but when it is about human-centric technology and when it's technology that makes the world a better place, then startups are usually a great place to start. So while being small, but still very ambitious, we are very hopeful that we will find more people to help us along the way. We're raising our pre-seed round now. This is something that it's incredibly important for us because we don't want to waste time. We want to build something that we're fully capable of, and there's something that we know that there is a demand for that in the world. So, bottom line, there is so much to do because there is so much to solve in the world. So, let's start with one little thing at a time.
One last question that you reminded me of. Can you talk a little bit about the startup ecosystem in Berlin and how that kind of cultivates a innovation culture?
We are, me and my company, we're familiar with the startup ecosystem in the US as well. And I can compare in a rather blunt way. There is a lot of wonderful innovation that gets that is slowed down by inflexibility and the lack of funding. While in US, there is so much innovation that I wouldn't say very often, but pretty often, there is a lot of funding and opportunistic movement when it comes to startup life over the ocean, and less of a building approach. While there's so many of true builders who care to create and bring, while they are staying underfunded. So specifically in Berlin, specifically in XR, it's an incredible environment. There are so many of us, we're doing wonderful things and we're all passionate about it. Do we feel like it's a Silicon Valley here and we have opportunities and we can build further? Unfortunately, not yet. We would love to have more opportunities to speak with big companies, to speak with financing options, because there is so much that can be created, but it's not. It does not always have the fuel that it requires. So these are beautiful. These are beautiful. Let's not make it. Let's make it a weapon. No, I'm trying to think of. It's a beautiful car. It's ready to go. It was built with engineering, with thinking. It's got to get the fuel to now start the journey. So.